What's good, YouTube? This is part 3 of the Reddit thread from the Spiritual World Instagram page about what men want women to know. Also, someone asked me yesterday if there's a link to the article. I don't think it's an article as much as a compilation made by the Spiritual World on the answer that the Reddit user got for asking the question. So I don't think it's an actual article. It could be, but I didn't see it as an article. I just saw it on the Instagram page. That's why there's no link. Anyway, this user wanted women to know. He said, it's hard to get over you after a breakup because we don't really have emotional support systems in place. And a lot of men have small circles, so losing anyone means a lot to us. This is absolutely true. For those men who value women, value relationships, value companionship, value the friendships that they have in those relationships, it's very difficult to go through a breakup because, again, we don't have those support systems in place. Society hasn't built that in as our culture, as our acceptable culture anyway. There's always the 3 don'ts for us. Men don't have, don't know, and don't trust. Meaning they don't have the support systems in place most of the time. And also, men don't know how to support each other through that type of thing because we haven't been taught those things. We've been taught to man up. And men also don't trust that they can maintain their social standing and respect among other men if they are caught in a weak moment or too many weak moments by going through a whole grief process in front of other people to witness. You got to remember, men are always assessing threats, and one of the biggest threats to men is the loss of respect of other men. Most men want to be seen as strong, mighty, respectable, tough, even alpha. Men aren't in a hurry to be seen as weak or vulnerable or pathetic or stupid. And all of those things are things that we also feel after a breakup a lot of times. To make a display of those emotions could be social suicide, because the men who witness us go through those emotions might not have the wherewithal or the awareness or the compassion or the empathy to give a damn about that outside of just laughing at us or making fun of us. I personally remember going through a hard breakup. I went to work a couple of times and it was way too obvious that I was hurt. It was way too obvious that I just wasn't myself. I hadn't even said anything. I hadn't complained. I didn't say one word. I didn't ask anybody for advice or a shoulder to cry on. I just wasn't my happy, energetic, just present self. And man, I got cracked on. I got made fun of. Right. So I had to go to work the next day and pretend that I was better somehow than the day before when I wasn't. And no one wants to go through that. But that's just kind of how men have to live in society if they want to maintain their level of tough and their level of rugged or their level of alpha or masculinity in the eyes of a lot of people who witness them or who encounter them. Again, men don't have, they don't know, and they don't trust. They don't have those support systems in place. Society isn't built for us to be crying on each other's shoulder. And we don't know how to support each other because that's not something we've all practiced. It's not our culture, right? And we don't trust that we can maintain our standing in society in those vulnerable moments. So getting over breakups can be particularly hard simply because we're not even sure if we're allowed to feel in front of people what we can't stop ourselves from feeling. A lot has been made over how women get over men, right? A lot of ice cream jokes, a lot of breakup movies have been made specifically for women because there is a culture and an expectation among tight friend groups to converge around that young woman or whoever she is. Converge around that woman, hold her, have some ice cream, talk shit about all their men, just share that moment together and be vulnerable with each other and also nurture that woman in her vulnerability because friend groups of women are usually based in supporting each other through that. Or at least you have one friend or 2 friends that you can trust with this information that whose whole job in your relationship is to be that person who rides with you through those harder moments. Guys, we have a best friend. We have men who we trust more than other men, but even in those relationship dynamics, it's not necessarily built around helping each other feel emotional trauma from relationships. Guys would much rather fist fight next to each other back to back than they would share their emotions with each other about how hard it is to get over somebody. Not to say that guys don't talk about breakups, not to say that there's not a sharing of information or even a discussion, but the information is shared informationally. It is rarely ever shared, at least in a comfortable way, emotionally, right? Women are allowed to be completely emotional, completely vulnerable, and completely weak in front of her friend groups. Men aren't normally either taught how to do that or, welcomed to do that by their emotional friend groups. That's why so many men just go hoard themselves around until they can figure out how to confuse their emotions enough to feel like they've moved on, even though they're damaged and they haven't. That's why a lot of guys are emotionally stunted sometimes, because imagine being sad over a breakup. Now imagine that being multiple breakups. Imagine that being also family trauma and childhood trauma. All of these different traumas, not just breakups, are being mishandled or handled sometimes in this way, where we really ignore, we sweep it under the rug, we do other things with our anger, with our hurt, with our distrust, with our confusion, but handle it. And they say that hurt people, which is clearly a demonstration of how a lot of these guys run around mishandling women and mishandling people in their relationships. Men actually usually only get their emotional support from the woman that they choose, which probably just left them. So that's their emotional support system, and she's out the door, right? So it's just difficult. It's not an easy thing for men to get over women a lot of times, even if they have a lot of friends, because that's not how we use our friends traditionally most of the time. Now, I'm not saying that's right. It's absolutely wrong. I think men need to normalize having a full range of emotions and a full range of communication about those emotions, and a full range of expression, and a full range of behavioral manifestation about how to deal with those emotions. But we don't get that. Usually we tough it out, and toughing it out usually involves us trying to confuse our emotions until we stop feeling as bad, but we still have those emotions. They're just under the rug, and they're not controlling our every thought anymore. Which is why a lot of women come in handy, because women can confuse your energy and confuse your emotions. Unfortunately enough, we often leave a lot of women confused, right? So that creates confusion for not just us, but for the people we encounter, trying to purge ourselves or wash ourselves from the scent of the woman who actually hurt us. So again, none of this is right? I think that we should normalize men having emotional support groups outside of their relationships, from other men. But at the same time, it's just not culture. And we're referring to culture here. And I'm actually just addressing the gentleman's comment, which I think is spot on. It would be helpful if a lot of men, or people in general in elementary school or middle school even, were taught how to process their emotions instead of all the bullshit that they teach us in school that is useless in life. Maybe we need to learn it at home, but I don't know. I guess we're tasking teachers with saving the world right now. So I don't know where we should learn it or who should teach it to us outside of our parents. But I think that in society, we could offer ourselves a better opportunity to build a society of men who actually process their emotions and help each other process their emotions better, and in less destructive ways than just screwing themselves around the globe until they feel a little bit better, until they feel less sad, which is not necessarily the same as feeling better. So yeah, breakups are hard. A man might not show you, a man might not act like it, a man might just hoard himself around the city, but breakups are hard. A lot of times, what you're not seeing is the same feelings and the same emotions that you're feeling from the breakup, because you two were attached for however long you were attached. Most of the time, it's safe to assume that after a real breakup, a real separation of a solid and healthy relationship, or a once solid and healthy relationship, that man feels as much emotionally as you do. He just shows it in different ways or refuses to show it at all, because those seem to be the rules for guys, apparently. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope this gives you some perspective. Follow me at KFIC24 on Instagram. This was video 3. I'll do video 4 tomorrow or another day. But I like this Reddit thread. I'm probably going to have to join this group so I can kind of get into these conversations. I'm really interested in giving y'all perspectives outside of mine, and I think that that's helpful. So follow me at KFIC24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.